You see that bat signal up in the sky? That means there's saves that need saving in Football Manager, and I know just the guy, me. The first one is from ItDom LOL, which, how dare you? This is not a laughing matter. They're coaching Mons Kalp in Gibraltar. Nice. It's a build a nation save, however. Now, none of my players are able to play for Gibraltar because they end up playing for their own country. In the first 20 years of the save, I was able to get a few players to swap nationalities and play for the national team. However, now I'm suffering from success because after winning the Champions League, nice, I can't get any players to join my national team. My youth intakes are abysmal and I rarely get a player worth anything coming through. In my most recent one, I got a player called Ari who's Portuguese because of an affiliate club who might be able to do something for the national team if I can get him playing time in the future. I don't know what to do because I've been unable to reach the Euros or a World Cup, and that's a long-term goal. Finally, I can't improve the youth facilities. All right, so you are coaching Mons Kalp and the Gibraltar national team, and we are in 20-freaking-50. Now, I've done some investigating, and the last time that you lost a match at home in the league was more than 10 years ago. So the determination, the perseverance in this save to dominate the league as long as you needed to in order to win the Champions League in 2050, I just have to respect. 3-second round of applause. But the issue you're dealing with in your save is not necessarily being able to build up this long-term success. You are going for one of the hardest things to do in Football Manager, which is build up an incredibly small national team and league. Now, this is why I was really excited by the concept of dynamic youth rating when it was initially introduced by Football Manager. But of course, Football Manager and I had some disagreement about what the phrase dynamic youth rating actually was supposed to mean. So the youth rating of Gibraltar is not necessarily going to change that much. The only way you are going to be able to bolster your national team is not necessarily going to be through your youth intake, but it's going to be through the recruitment of foreign nationals that you bring in to play on your team. Now, I understand the issue that you are running into, that basically before you're able to get Gibraltarian nationality on a lot of these guys, they are already making appearances for national teams around the world. This is actually, weirdly, an invitation to sign as many Brazilian wonder kids as possible, because there's something that you need to achieve. All right, now you have two Brazilians, including one named Cristiano Ronaldo, which is not a nickname, so that's awesome. But the way that you do this, the way that you are describing, is you need to sign people that are not going to make it into their national team before they gain Gibraltar nationality, right? And you're going to need to do that basically right when they're 18, because by the time these guys are turning 21, they'll be getting Gibraltar nationality, because I know all things and all places around the world, Gibraltar, you gain nationality in 3 years' time. Now, I've done some poking around, and it looks like the Gibraltar national team does have, at the top of it, some guys that were born and kind of raised up in Brazil, and this guy played for Mons Kalp for 11 seasons, and you've been able to recruit them into the national team. Gibraltar is also 87th in the world, which is a huge achievement. You've already made strides. You're 1 ranking ahead of Finland and 2 rankings behind Panama and Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, actual national teams that have been to the World Cup. And if you look at your history in World Cup qualifying, you finished 3rd in 3 of your last 4 World Cup qualifying groups. So if we just go ahead and look at it. Your last group, you managed to finish ahead of Hungary. So the progress is there. I understand that it's frustratingly slow, but I just want to give you an idea and basically show you, by the people that react to this in the comments as well, that the Gibraltar national team has gotten a lot better under your watch. But your issue is that it is still not good enough to be attractive enough to recruit these other players that might have the ability to play for a Danish national team or something. And the only way you're going to get there is by winning more games with the Gibraltar national team. Your solution is to succeed more with the Gibraltar national team, which will then feed into making the Gibraltar national team even better. It's a snowball effect, essentially. Right now, at 87th in the world, there are plenty of players that are Brazilian, that are Argentine, that are French, that are English, that are good enough to help your national team by a lot, but are not good enough to make it into their country's national team. Now that you are a Champions League winner, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, stop signing the Iraqi wonder kids and go get some Brazilians. I mean that literally. You've got a pretty good Iraqi wonder kid here, but obviously he's going to start playing for the Iraqi national team from the time he's 16 years old. You're never going to have an opportunity to recruit him to the team. Now, this is a long-term strategy, but you've clearly signed up for a long-term project here, trying to win or at least make it to a World Cup or a Euros with the Gibraltar national team. Now, you focused on setting up a beneficiary youth setup in Spain and France and Uruguay. That's smart. You're already doing that. Now, the last bit that you mentioned is the youth facilities. That doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, right? Because you have state-of-the-art training facilities, exceptional academy, and youth coaching. You've got 4.5 stars in reputation. I don't know what the limiting factor would be on youth facilities. The only thing I can imagine is that you can't level up your youth facilities past a certain point if you are in an area with such a low youth rating. If that's the case, I've never run into it before, but it's something weird like that, or quite literally a glitch. If I were you, I would actually take the file and post it to the forums, because given the fact that everything else you have is at the exact highest level possible, something weird is going on that we don't quite understand, that I don't quite understand when it comes to this. You're doing a lot of things right. The big change you need to make is one that Football Manager players all over the world dread making. You need to sign basic wonder kids, like the basic ones. Just shift your scouting into scouting the best countries in the world national team wise, so that they'll come play for you. Next, we have Gaton Amia, who's managing Arsenal. Hello, Z. I am currently doing a journeyman save inspired by your Twitch save. Nice. Be sure to check me out on stream. This forehead's even more vivacious in person. Anyways, I started out in the Japanese 3rd division and worked my way to back-to-back J1 titles before moving to England. I've never managed in the country before. You're the only FM player on the planet that can say that, I think. So I feel like I underachieved with both Southampton and Arsenal, especially after a trophyless season most recently with the Gunners, when I felt like we had one of the best teams in the world. I don't really know what the issue might be. We seem to lose a lot of our big games. We lost almost all our games against top 6 clubs last season, even though we out-XG'd most of them. Thank you for your time. Of course. Also, shout out to the international management people, with Sweden also being on the docket here. That's fun. And you are Jose Mourinho. All right, let's take a look at last season. Good heavens, that's a title race. 4 teams within 4 points. If you're that close to it, it's really not that bad, but losing 6 matches is tough. Okay, you were the runner-up in the Champions League last season. How is this, what? Declan Rice, Gabby Jesus, and Martin Odegaard, they're all still here? It's 2030. Yeah, you weren't kidding. I mean, you really do have, arguably the best team in the world. Almost inarguably. I mean, I'm looking at the ability of everybody that you have at every position. Everybody's developed fantastically. There's a lot of togetherness, a lot of experience, the atmosphere, the cohesion. It all should be it should be ridiculously good. You should be winning basically everything. I'm going to look at something that is usually an indicator of future success. Your goal difference being 13 higher than the other teams that you were around. All of your losses, with the exception of literally 1 away to Brighton, being by only 1 goal. I mean, all signs point towards this team being able to be a dominant team this season. So there's only one thing you need to do when you're in that situation. Don't do anything stupid and overcorrect for a problem that's not there. Because the only thing that's going to torpedo what you're doing is dumb things like trying to terminate Aaron Ramsdale's contract. What are you doing? He's your starting goalkeeper. He's perfect. Like, you can win the Champions League with this guy in goal. Absolutely no problem. Right? This version of Aaron Ramsdale in the game doesn't need Subway Surfer running on the side of his match vision in order to keep him focused. But the most important stupid thing not to do is play into the hands of the other great teams. It's always important to understand how the other teams in the game see you. And every single team in the Premier League sees you as very difficult opposition. You are the projected winner of the league this season. You're 2-to-1 odds to win the whole thing. What does that mean? That means that every team you play against is going to set up to try to counter you. It means that every team you're playing against is going to believe that you are better than them. The reason mid-season slumps happen so much is because teams reevaluate how well you're doing, which means if everybody thinks you're terrible for the first half of the season, they're going to play against you like you're terrible. If you start beating everybody, by the time you get to January, the teams readjust the way they view you and they start to defend a little bit more. This is what constantly causes those mid-season slumps that everybody is always complaining about in FM. Well, you're starting the entire season with everybody just assuming you're going to be better than them. This means they're going to pack it in, they're going to be tougher to score on, and they are going to look to counter. There are a couple of ways you can approach this, but my belief is that because these teams are packing it in, you're not getting as many chances as you probably should. You've got 2 tactics, which are slight variations on a 4-3-3. I think you need to cook up something more aggressive. You have the talent and the athleticism to press everybody into oblivion, to run teams off the field entirely. Now, I don't know what type of changes you make in match But a 4-3-3, well, look, you can totally win everything out of this, but if you want to actually put the amount of pressure that you're capable of putting on all of these teams you're playing against that are just trying to pack it in and defend with everything they've got, you need something more aggressive if you don't have it already. You need a tactic that you switch to during the match that maybe looks a little bit like this. You go into a 4-2-3-1, you bring the fullbacks up, all of a sudden you're in the other team's kitchen, right? You can even do something insane like this. If you're really loving Declan Rice, you can go up here and, I mean, there's no way to pass out of this. You win the ball and just start recycling again. You start looking like Manchester City in possession. The reason Manchester City looks like that in possession, outside of the fact that Pep Guardiola is a maniac, is because when you do something like this, you're in complete control of the match, and this is the most effective way to score against a team that's in a low block and really trying to defend. And then maybe against a Manchester City, once you score a goal, you can pop back to what you were doing before. That's perfectly fine. But what I'm seeing from these results that you got, the fact that you dropped points in 13 matches last year with a team that looks like this, including 7 draws, right? You're not sending it enough. You gotta send it. You've accumulated incredible talent. Use it. Freaking send it. But nice, Journeyman. You've done well so far. Next. This comes from Free7694 at Portsmouth. Started my journeyman in the 10th tier of England and wound up at Portsmouth. Got them promoted to the Premier League, but it feels like everything has stagnated since we got there. This will be the 3rd straight season hanging out in the bottom part of mid-table, never worried about relegation, but also never challenging for Europe and constantly getting battered by the big teams. It just seems like we can't attract or afford the players that could help take that next step. I'm not sure if we need more better scouts, better coaches, or even if I'm just being impatient. I'd like some help figuring it out because I've loved this save and it's starting to get stale. This is a wall that a ton of people hit. So 14th, 15th, you're now in December and you're packing it in at 11th and you're starting to feel those European spots slip away again. Shout out to Everton for going into administration, so at least there is, the realism of this simulation is staggering. The most important thing is your kind of team construction here. How your team has been built. So let's see, how long have you been at Portsmouth? I might be able to diagnose this one pretty quickly. So you've been here for 3 years, right? From 2029 to 2029-2030 season, you got the team promoted in 4th. First concern about your team comp is there is a startling lack of loans for a Premier League team. If you are trying to advance yourself in the Premier League, you're in the best league in the world. In the game, it is always the best league in the world, which means you're an incredibly attractive loan destination to give players an opportunity to play in that league. You've only got one guy. You should be maxing that out every year until you are getting into those European places, because you're going to be able to get great players, whether it be from Real Madrid, Barcelona, any of the big teams in the Premier League that are just trying to unload one of their talented young players. You'd be surprised who you can get on loan once you become an established Premier League team, which you are. Entering your 3rd season, halfway through your 3rd season of being a Premier League team, you are established. Look at the players that are, oh my, dude, how many important players do you have? This is very unbalanced. You have 13 players that are important player or higher. There's no way you're going to be able to keep all those people happy. I'm surprised it's only 2. This guy's on regular starter and you left him out of the Premier League squad. You're just making some mistakes with this sort of stuff. So off the top, if somebody's not going to be available for your Premier League squad and they're not on fringe player, they're going to be mad, right? You're going to need to get rid of that player. You never want to end up in this situation. This guy, you've made a horrific mistake. Right, where he's going to run his contract down, even though he is a pretty darn talented deep-lying playmaker. Now, him forcing a move that you can't stop, that is something that's going to happen from time to time, but you can't get no value out of it, because you're about to hit a January window where he will be able to join other clubs for free, at least other foreign clubs. So this is just really disproportionate, and some of the people you've given important player to, this guy sucks. This guy's really not good. I mean, in the Premier League, I love having a good American as much as anybody else, but you're telling me this guy's made 13 appearances in the Premier League this season? It's not good enough. Your Wonder Kid acquisition machine is just it's not good enough. If I'm sort by potential, and this is all that's at the top, you just need to do more. Because the reason you hit this wall is you are trusting players to be able to do a job that you shouldn't be trusting to do that particular job, because they're not good enough. And if you're looking for players that are already going to be at the level where they are going to beat all of the top teams in the Premier League, you're not going to find them. What you have to do, what is absolutely necessary, is that you find the Wonder Kids before the big clubs do. Your whole livelihood now depends on loans and finding the wonder kids before the other big clubs find them. That and the occasional end of contract player you're able to poach, like maybe an older player that's leaving one of the huge clubs that can come in and do a job for you for 2 seasons. Those are the 3 ways you should be building this team. And you very well might know that and might be thinking that, but dropping $41 million on Vince Dardai this past season, a guy that hates big matches and is objectively the type of midfielder you'd find starting on a team that finishes 10th in the Premier League, that's not the sort of move that is going to advance you. That $41 million, that's a couple of wonder kids, or one really exceptional wonder kid right now. That's 2 Brazilians, right, at the normal price that those release clauses are set. There's just not a compelling argument to be made to sign your 13th important player or better and make it Vince Dardai. I'm not saying Vince Dardai is a bad player. I'm just saying he doesn't have the mental tools, right, in personality or big matches, and he doesn't have the actual on-the-field tools to be a high-level difference maker, and he's 26 years old. I don't mean to be ageist here, but he's not getting any better. And then you've signed somebody like Zach Jones, who is a good center back. This is a bit of a better signing, but he also hates big matches. The issue with the Premier League is there is no league in the world where more matches are going to be considered big matches because the amount of reputation that's being thrown around in all of these matches in the first place. So you are bringing in guys that are just inherently going to suck in those positions. But this was a better signing than Bent's because I think this guy is definitely a really good center back, especially considering all of his traits, fact that he's left-footed and everything. There's not as much of an emphasis on finding the great wonder kids before the big clubs do, because the way you progress through this wall is that. Let's take a look at your scouting. So you were scouting, I mean, that's just too low. That's really just that's too low. And that's in England. And then we've got Europe. We're scouting for potential ability down in that spot. I'd imagine those reports, you're just getting a ridiculous amount of recommendations to the point that you're struggling to kind of sort through all of them. You should up your requirements. I would go with something that looks like that at the very least. The other problem is the age thing. If you really want to be looking for wonder kids, having it set up at 50 means you're just going to find, you know, if I go into like recommendations, this search in the Premier League is literally just going to find every player in the Premier League. I mean, there isn't one player in the Premier League that won't match that. And then you're specifically scouting Argentina. You're scouting the Premier League, England, and the UK and Ireland. That strikes me as triple dipping in an area you don't need to be triple dipping in. So now we're looking ages 15 to 25. You're scouting the Campeonato Sudamericano, which is like the Europa League in South America, but you're looking for people that are already 2.5 stars to 3 stars. That, I mean, technically that's what you should be having in these other spots. Honestly, forget everything that you thought you knew about scouting in this game. Give me a second. So you definitely want to do any. That's what you're doing. Any position, obviously, from this tactic. If you're looking for wonder kids, set this to, let's say, 23, 15 to 23. Make it a top priority. And then you can do ages 15 to 23. If you want to set a specific area, right, there are ways to do that without narrowing it down too much. If you want to really break it down, this is the old way that you do it. You go region and then do like South America North, South America South. You can set up a couple of different scouting moves like that. I mean, you have 12 scouts, and so you'd be able to do that in 4 different areas. To be perfectly honest, I've had absolutely no problem setting this up as a world scouting sort of thing. So you just do no region at all. I find that the scouts work really quickly to accumulate a lot of knowledge all over all over the world. You can go through and assign specific scouts to be working in specific areas of the world where they already speak the language to speed that process up a bit, but specifically locking in on the South American Europa League, I mean, your focus is just entirely too narrow here. I mean, if somebody doesn't pop up in the UK and Ireland or in Argentina, the only scouting reports that you would be using to find them are transfer and all. And you have one standard all report with 2 scouts on it that's excluding some of the younger potential wonder kids here, and not just narrowing it down to wonder kids. You're making them look at literally every player on the planet ages 15 to 50 with at least 2-star, with at least 3-star ability relative to your team if they're over that age, or 2-star current ability if they're under the developmental age. It's just entirely ineffective. There's nothing wrong with doing those specific types of scouting reports on occasion, But there is something wrong with just excluding the vast majority of the world when your whole job now is to find the best wonder kids you can get your hands on. Because you rightly point out that there are very few 26-year-olds that you're going to be able to sign that are going to actually make a significant improvement to your team in a way that makes financial sense. The other report you will want is the loan-specific report, and then you can just look for people that are at least 2.5 stars. And then maybe you want to set this to, let's say, top 5 leagues so you can really narrow down where they're looking. So you just go to England and then Premier League, and then you just go to competition, France, Ligue 1, you get the idea. I also typically like to have a general scouting report going just for players that are going to improve my team. You never know where those guys are going to be. I usually scout over the entire world with this, but you could narrow it down to already playing in Europe, or do what we just did on the last one, narrow it down to the top 5 leagues or top 10 leagues or whatever, so that you can find guys that, hey, because there might be 1 or 2 guys out there that can really improve your team or are coming to the end of their contract, so you can make a play. But this right here, this is falling down on the scouting for sure. Next, we have Lord Parquad. Lord Parquad's managing Lynx FC. So honestly, this isn't much of a help. I am failing, more of a situation of getting the furthest I've ever gotten in an FM save. Oh, good. I thought this was going to be one of those where they're like, actually, I just want you to take a look at my super sick save. I have no problems. I have been a fair weather fan of FM over the last 3-ish years, thanks to your videos, but I have never gotten deep into a save until now. I've loved this save with Lynx and Gibraltar. Why are we in Gibraltar again? How does that happen? However, I'm at a spot now of having a very rough time getting over the hump of being a lower level club in the Champions League and then Conference League. In the beginning, I was able to get young folks in on freeze, but now I am slightly higher. It has been much more difficult to do so and pass my knowledge of the game to really start progressing and not stagnating. So really, that is what I need help with. How to move forward to get competitive in the world stage. Well, Lord Parquad, might I introduce you to Dom LOL, because he's somebody that's actually managed to do this just 19 years from now. So you have managed to take control of the league. You've won the league 5 of the last 6 seasons, which look in itself as somebody that's stepping into playing Football Manager more seriously, that is a solid achievement. Look, huge shout out on making the Conference League quarterfinal. That's a massive accomplishment. But in these sorts of saves where you're progressing literally from the bottom all the way to the top, your goal is to make a Champions League group stage, right? So you don't really need to worry about Wonder Kids or anything else. You are just trying to build the best possible team you can get your hands on in order to get yourself into a Champions League group stage. So there's no, you don't really have a financial situation where you're able to go after Wonder Kids. Only 5% of your transfer revenue is made available, so selling players isn't going to make your team great. So the fact that you're thinking, oh, I can't sign free young players anymore to help the team, sign free old ones. Anyway, look at the age profile of your squad. The oldest, it seems like at least rotation player in your team is 25 years old. You don't have the resources to be playing Wonder Kid in FC right now. It's just not possible. The actual legitimate Wonder Kids that are going to help you compete with the bigger clubs and actually not lose to Real Betis in the Conference League quarterfinal, those guys are way down the road. You just need to slap together a team that's good enough to get into the Champions League group stage by whatever means necessary. You need to get into the Champions League stage. That's where the real money is. That's where the real prestige is. That is what's going to help catapult your team to the next level. You want to be able to sign that Wonder Kid for $5 million that you find. That money is going to come from the Champions League stage. I'm willing to bet I know exactly what your scouting looks like. Dude, you are thirsty. Expand the age range a little bit, right? There's no reason to just be locking in on 16-year-olds here. Please don't ever put it that low. Also, if you found a person with that actual ability, they would maybe reach that potential ever. So that not important, right? What you're looking for here is somebody that is at least already pretty talented and is going to bring plenty of potential ability in the future. You also want to expand this age range, right? We'll probably drop this at like 24, pop that on top, and then just go ahead and get rid of the other 2, right? And we could set up a few other scouting things, but you need to be looking into contract for sure, which means you're going to make one that's any position here, and we're looking for somebody that's bringing 3 stars at least. We're going to go top, further details, contract status, expiring in the next year. Boom, on it. You have 10 scouts. That's actually pretty good. You should be able to get 4 or 5 recruitment focuses up running. You should be looking for lone players because every single person should be looking for loans. You set a focus up to look for that. You set a focus up to look for end of contract, and you should set a focus up as well to look for, first team available players, right? Because when you set up a recruitment focus, this is a neat thing about it. They're not going to recommend to you somebody that you don't have the opportunity to sign. So if you just set up a recruitment focus that looks like this, you're not going to get Kylian Mbappe in that recruitment focus. You're only going to get recommendations for players that actually would be able, they believe it's at least feasible the team would have the resources to acquire them. But think of the Champions League group stage is like promotion. If you get to the Champions League group stage and you end up with it, if you were able to make this balance, say, more than $2 million, start thinking about Wonder Kids. Before it's there, who cares how old they are? You could get a 40-year-old Zlatan or something, those types of guys, and they'll come into your team and actually be able to help, and they will help you reach that Champions League group stage. I love this, though. Your brain is built in a way where you're like ready to be at a mid-table Premier League club and hunting Wonder Kids. You really just need results right now because there's no money and there's no value either. Even if you had 100% transfer revenue retention, which you don't, the most valuable player on your team is like, what, $100,000? There's no value there. These guys are worth more to you than that. They have more value to you alive on your team. Gotta love the fact you got a guy from Gibraltar with 17 pace and acceleration, though. That's gotta be fun. But this is possible. If you need any reference, just look at the other guy who's 19 years in your future. But thank you, everyone, for submitting your saves to SYS. If you want to watch me rate incredibly good saves, here you go. It's right there. I'll see y'all on stream. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye. Adios. Sayonara.